point, he did say that this trade would have most likely happened even if we were 6-1. It was kind of like.
I don't think that's true.
Is that cap?
Yeah, I think that's cap. If you're 6-1, you're trading 4 pieces. You're not trading away pieces. And I understand them wanting to get out of the contract, get out of that $9 million when they don't have the cap to flex that. They need some help on the defensive side of the ball. But if you're 6-1, that means your defense isn't terrible. So you don't have to worry about that. You don't have to worry about paying players on the defensive side of the ball. I think Brad Holmes is capping a little bit on that one. If you're 6-1, you make a trade to better your team. You don't sell at the trade deadline. You buy.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that's a little bit of a cap.
Sam, what was your take on this one? You think he's capping?
Oh, I think there's a 0.00000% chance he'd make this trade if they were 6-1. I mean, 6-1, honestly, for the Lions, that sounds like fantasy land. When's the last time they've been 6-1 and looking towards the playoffs? But anywho, one of the reasons they got rid of him was because they wanted to look towards the future. You want to save some cap space. You wanted some extra draft capital. You wanted some cheap, when you get draft picks, they're on rookie contracts and everything, and that's kind of how you build. If TJ Hockenson, even if you were putting up these same numbers on a winning team, you would have a much better team around him, and TJ Hockenson would have a role, and maybe in that role, you wouldn't mind paying him. But the fact of the matter is they're 1-6, they're bottoming out, they have the worst record in the NFL, which is an absolute embarrassment, and at some point, you just gotta, what are you going to do with him? Do you want to pay him? Are you going to win with him? I honestly think Brock Wright and James Mitchell can combine for 4 receptions and 42 yards in a game, because that's usually what you're getting from TJ Hockenson. Let's just be honest. I mean, I actually found an interesting stat. I dug this up right before the show. TJ Hockenson has played 47 games in his Lions career. He has more than 60, that's not a lot, receiving yards in 12 of them. 12 out of 47, he's had more than 60 yards in a game. That's not elite. That's barely even good. That's mid. That's what the numbers say. Mm-hmm. You can love his talent, but he hasn't produced. And the Lions haven't won with him here. Get rid of him, get some draft picks. There's nothing wrong with the trade, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, my whole problem is like the interdivision stuff, and I'm not cool with it. And then I guess this part too, you can look at how you want. If you think that the Vikings are more likely going to win the division, correct? Mm-hmm. Spinney, Sam, JB. Well, that
especially with the Packers not doing anything at the trade deadline.
For sure, that second round pick holds. It is still a second round pick, but holds a little bit less value because it's going to fall further into the draft at that point too. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm talking about. It's like Lions luck. Trade away Matthew Stafford, dude goes to Super Bowl, you get the 32nd overall pick. Now, Brad Holmes, the G, because he then flipped that into the 13th overall pick or 12th overall pick, I apologize, and draft Jameson Williams. But, same case scenario, it's just easy to picture happening to the Detroit Lions with these picks as well, on top of just TJ getting that offense over to those guys. And let's be honest, we've said it before on the show too. We're not going to compete until 2024 anyway, so I guess it's not that big of a deal. As long as they swing and miss on those 4th rounders, I'm cool with it.
Yeah,
I'm not really tripping on it. But to Brad Holmes' point, he said he would have made the same deal if they were 6-1. Everything that you just said, Flynn, Sam, still applies if they're 6-1. And TJ Hockenson in my mind isn't mid. I think he's still for sure a top 10 tight end. I mean, the stats would say that as well if you compare him against other tight ends. Tight ends aren't. Outside of Kittle, Kelsey, Waller when he was healthy, Mark Andrews, no one else is really putting up 100-yard games. It's just it's a rare. It doesn't happen often.
So that's another reason of why I like the trade, because like you said, no tight ends outside of the 4 that you named are special. TJ Hockenson is not special, so I don't feel like paying a guy who is not special $14 million on a rebuild is a good idea.
I think he'd be special in the right situation. I mean, I don't know that we utilize him to his full potential all the time. Really, too, that's one of the reasons I hate the Eric Ebron comparisons. We're bringing up Eric Ebron's stats from when he played alongside Calvin Johnson. Oh, he had Matthew Stafford as quarterback as well. Where T.J. Hockenson, his first 2 years, dealing with Jeff Driscoll, frickin' whoever the hell the other guy was, probably not even in the league anymore. Mm-hmm. And then, 1 year Stafford goes to the Pro Bowl, and then Jared Goff. I'm saying, And even then, TJ's beating him, or at least tied with what his numbers were in Detroit. Talking about Eric Ebron's in 9 less games too. Like, this is not a comparison. But to Brad Holmes' point, though, he would have made the trade whether it's 6 or 1. I don't think he's capping. I think the same way that Flannel Sam said, though, this offense can get running without him. That is still true. I'm saying if we're 6-1, I mean, we aren't a couple plays away from being 6-1, but we're a couple plays away from at least being like 500. You know what I'm saying? And which still at that point like makes TJ expendable. If long term you didn't plan on paying him, if you didn't feel like he was a special guy, why not get extra draft compensation for him?